I would say it's emotionally true.
Right. Okay.
But as for the story itself, it's really a novel. Yes.
Thank you.
Any more? Anybody else? Yeah. Okay. Jill. Yeah.
It's for Marielle as well. I'd like to ask the obvious question about writing in a second language for you. What prompted you to do this, and was there a story behind that?
Yeah, it's a funny story actually, because I had started to write the novel in French. And what happened, I was only at the first chapter, and I met someone in LA. She was a screenwriter, and she told me, "I love your story, but it's too bad I can't understand French. Why don't you write it in English, and then I can write the screenplay?" You know, so I thought, oh, that could be interesting, you know, because she's been working for the past 30 years, you know, in Hollywood. So I figured she has the whole experience to be able to tell me, to help me on this. So that was the reason, and yes, it was more difficult to do. It took me a longer time, you know, to get the story, the structure and everything. But in the end, I'm happy I did it.
Do you see your character as an Anglophone, or in your head is she still a Francophone?
No, she's not Francophone.
Okay.
You know, I would have a hard time saying. It's because the story is taking place in Hudson. It's a very it's a bilingual community. I lived there for quite a while, but it was mostly Anglophone.
Okay.
So it was very easy for me to slip into that, you know, that environment.
Okay.
Yes.
Sharon, did you have a question?
Actually, a lot of them were already asked, but I will add a comment that I loved your description of marigolds. I'm from the United States, and every Shell gas station has a big pot of marigolds. So I can't look at marigolds and think Shell gas. Now they don't go together. So thank you.
Is there a movie upcoming?
I don't know yet. I don't know. You know, we're talking, but she's interested in doing this story, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Can I have her phone number?
She said, even if she does, you know, present the story, what she told me, and I didn't know, is that even if they buy the script, doesn't mean the movie will be made.
No, not
It doesn't
necessarily.
mean much.
No.
So, you know, it's
Still pretty
a
exciting.
long show. Yes, yes.
So then in relation to that, then would you then be writing your own screenplay as well?
No,
Is that
I couldn't do that.
You couldn't
no,
do that?
it's something really, you know, it's something else.
Yeah.
The screenplay.
You couldn't do that, or you wouldn't want to do
I
that? or
both.
it doesn't interest you? Your paintings would look too different.
Yeah. Jill? Yeah.
Is your book available in French?
It will be in the fall.
It will be.
It's being translated right now.
So you're not translating it?
No, I'm not. I'm not doing it.
Okay, yeah.
Do you still paint?
Oh yes.
And do you do paintings for people?
Well,
Or do you paint
I just
do for yourself?
I paint because it helps my work, my writing. I do intend sometime, you know, in the future to have an exhibition, but I don't know.
Maybe my second question, I think I've conquered the French language, but maybe you could give me an English lesson now and then as well. My wife finds it hard to understand me.
Not because of the way you talk.
My granny says Irish, that's her fault.
All wives have trouble understanding. Okay, any more? Any more questions? Have we got any more? Yeah. Oh no.
Mr. Griffin, I think it's really neat to write a story basically about something that happened within your family, but then fictionalizing it is something that I think is really interesting too. I'm just wondering, was your goal to fictionalize it so that you could tell the story without getting your family involved, or just so that you could tell a good story and not have to let the facts get in the way?
That's true. If you read the book and you don't know anything about the people, really, it's just another book about a murder, about an execution.
But you mentioned you did a lot of research into the archives.
Yes, I wanted to find out exactly how things, that sort of motivated me you know, to get the thing done. Of course, I was emotionally, in a way, tied up with the story, so that helped too. Some sort of drive it gave me.
But I mean, were there instances where you figured what you found in your research didn't make for a good enough story, so you scrapped it and wrote your own thing?
Well, as I said before, a lot of the dialogue which takes place in the story was of my own creation. And since I had very little record of the motivation behind some of these people, you know, why did they do the things they did? Like one of the characters, the main character, murders a man with an axe. Now, what motivated this confrontation between these two men? They hated each other. And the man who did the killing in that case, he was released by the courts because they couldn't show that that he was totally guilty of the murder itself, because the other guy was carrying an axe with him too. So did I answer your question there?
Well, I'm just wondering, was your goal to write an interesting story, and this was your inspiration, or was your goal to stay as true to, as far as you could tell, or as far as there was evidence, what actually happened?
Yeah, well, I tried to bring my own experience in this country place into play with this story. And I thought that the murder would be a good way to sort of attract attention to my story. I don't know if that answers your question.
I think what he's trying to say is that probably if someone didn't know the area and lived around here, you could almost read it as a fiction, as a fictional.
Well, I'm sure that, I know that certain people who have read the book have said that this actually happened, you know, this actually takes place. I said, well, you know, basically it did take place. You know. And for them it was difficult to believe that such a thing could have happened. You know, in 1952, Canada was still executing people. Wilbert Coffin was executed in 1956. Stephen Truscott was condemned to death as a 14-year-old in 1959. Two men were executed back-to-back at the Don Jail in Toronto in 1962. Those were the last executions that Canada performed. After that, I think people had had enough of this gory manner in which the government retaliated against people who committed sins of this nature. Well, that was a speech. I'm going to run for Parliament, I think.
Okay, Sharon, and then
I was just going to ask, why did you decide to change the time? Why did you not keep it at 2?
Because that was the time when I was intimately familiar with the people of that farming area. If you read the book, you'll notice that I spend a lot of time describing what the people do and how they survive and what their activities are and so on. So I was intimately connected to them. My uncle owned the farm. I spent a lot of my summers there. It was a beautiful experience, and there were no murders. But I decided to inject that factor.
If I'm understanding correctly, then you're saying that your aim was really to tell the story of Sherbrooke, the Sherbrooke that you knew, or the Shannon that you knew, sorry, and using essentially the murder to add spice to the story itself.
Well, the people who lived during the time of the murder weren't that different from the people who lived in the 1950s on the farm. They were the same people. Just the sons and grandsons of the people who lived in the 1870s and 1880s. So I didn't see any really difference when I was doing my research. The people were the same. They were doing the same things. They were raising cattle. They were cutting the hay, the oats. And they were having barn dances on the weekend. Same people.
Have we got any more? One more, last one, anybody?
I just wanted to, Harold, did you want to mention, it's just that Harold's also an artist, and he did paint the cover of the book. And did you want to mention your father? No. Because his father was born in this house. Right? I know, I find him more fascinated by the cover. No, I know the book is amazing.
That's great. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks so much. So, anybody who wants a copy now, the authors here will sign them for you. We'll bring a table up the front here, and the authors will sign away for those of you that would like copies.